Good evening. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube family. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Back to the World. My Brother's Keeper presents Brillianaires Roundtable Conference. I'm Tony.
I'm John.
And thank you guys for joining us. The music that you hear in the background is strictly for our enjoyment and our entertainment, but we don't own the rights to. If you have any comments, questions, or anything that you care to share, please hit us in the box down below and give us your thoughts. And to certain friends out there tonight, man, and everybody out in the audience, hey, Emma, if you guys sign on tonight, you know, I maybe I can see whomever it is, and we can engage, and you know, and we can exchange. All right. So again, thank you guys for coming on board.
Like my partner just mentioned, we always, we create a platform to engage and to expand and to magnify, right? And the beginning of anything is always through words. Even if it's a greeting, it's through a word. So we greet you and we welcome our audience. And I hadn't been here in a while. I was been, engaged in other, activities, and physics just wouldn't let me be two places at one time. So again, we want to, reach out to our audience with some engagement, because that's how we become fulfillers, by engaging and are communicating properly.
So tonight we're going to the next chapter, which is chapter 4, and the title of this chapter is Auto-Suggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind, the third step towards riches. If you can remember, our first step was desire. Our second step was faith. And tonight, it's auto-suggestion. So I'm going to start. Auto-suggestion is a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli which reach one's mind through the five senses. Stated in another way, auto-suggestion is self-suggestion. It is the agency of communication between that part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. Through the dominating thoughts, which one permits to remain in the conscious mind, whether these thoughts be negative or positive, is immaterial. The principle of autosuggestion voluntarily reaches the subconscious mind and influences it with these thoughts. No thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion, with the exception of thoughts picked up from the ether. Stated differently, all sense impressions which are perceived through the five senses are stopped by the conscious thinking mind and may be either passed on to the subconscious mind or rejected at will. The conscious faculty serves, therefore, as an outer guard to the approach of the subconscious. Nature has so built man that he has absolute control over the material which reaches his subconscious mind through his five senses, although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that man always exercises this control. In the great majority of instances, he does not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. Recall what has been said about the subconscious mind resembling a fertile garden spot in which weeds will grow in abundance if the seeds of the more desirable crops are not sown therein. Autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature, or by neglect, permit thoughts of a destructive nature to find their way into this rich garden of the mind. You were instructed in the last of the 6 steps described in the chapter on desire to read aloud twice daily the written statement of your desire for money, and to see and feel yourself already in possession of that money. By following these instructions, you communicate the object of your desire directly to your subconscious mind in a spirit of absolute faith. Through repetition of this procedure, you voluntarily create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Want to ride on that?
Sure. That's a literal statement, because when you think about it, right, be it positive or negative thinking, once it's accepted and done, it don't suggest anymore. It just takes over. So when you have a suggestion, that means you have a choice, right? And
yes.
So if you have a choice, one gonna always oppose the other, right? And what has become automatic would really speak first. It's like when my partner and I, when we initially, introduced, what we're presenting now, it was just from that title, it was an automatic, auto suggestion that individuals would oppose it based on just auto thinking, without thinking it out. I don't know. Oh, well, see. And so now we had to introduce a positive perspective to remove the negative suggestion, the negative auto suggestion, rather, right? Because two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And so here we are today on a continuous basis, introducing the principles that make anything come to fruition. It's principle based,
Yes. Go back to these 6 steps described in chapter 2 and read them again very carefully before you proceed further. Then, when you come to it, read very carefully the 4 instructions for the organization of your mastermind group described in the chapter on organized planning. By comparing these 2 sets of instructions with that which has been stated on autosuggestion, you of course will see that the instructions involve the application of the principle of autosuggestion. Remember, therefore, when reading aloud the statement of your desire through which you have endeavoring to develop a money consciousness, that the mere reading of the words is of no consequence unless you mix emotions or feeling with your words. If you repeat 1,000,000 times the famous Emile Kuhn formula day by day in every way, I am getting better and better without mixing emotion and faith with your words, you will experience no desirable results. Your subconscious mind recognizes and acts upon only thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. I'm just going to elaborate just a little bit. We understand, I'm going to give it to you like this. All these things have something in conjunction with one another. They share working out, practicing, and training for a particular sport, martial arts, and military. What these things, what these four examples that I've given, what they share the physical repetition, right? And see, the mind works the same way, because then what we call that muscle memory. Keep in mind, the brain is a muscle. The heart's a muscle, right? So I don't know how many of you have watched how many of you may have watched Karate Kid, the new version with Will Smith's son? I've trained martial arts, so I recognized immediately what the sensei was doing when he had the young kid sweep, when he had him put the coat on the hanger and take it off, when he had him wash windows and the whole. That's a party, right? So the kid was like, what am I doing? I'm here to train for martial arts. Why do you have me wiping a window? Why do you have me throwing a coat on the rack and taking it off? Why do you have me twisting around, putting the pot on the counter, taking it off, and moving it here? Because all these are motions that the body must make, right, in order to be successful at that particular function, right? There are many things that can be associated with that. All right, when you're playing football, you're running through a combine. All right, you're stepping through tires. You're like, what the hell tires got to do with anything, right? And here's what happens. When you're in combat or when you're in competition and something happens that calls for that particular move, that particular process in which you were training, you don't have to think about it. So your mind, your subconscious mind is already telling your body to react to it. Okay? And you'll be surprised. You can tell when someone has trained specifically at something. There are some people who are just naturally gifted. But when you have trained persistently, right, your muscle memory kicks in. I'm telling you, I'm visually impaired, right? But if I'm holding something in my hand, and if it drops towards the floor and it may break or whatever the situation may be, I don't even have to look. I place my foot exactly where it's going to be falling. And I'm talking about it be falling at a quick pace. And you know what? Everybody used to laugh at me because I played soccer as a kid, but I never played soccer competitively. We played soccer before it was popular in the United States. But I will touch anything that I may drop. And if I can lean forward quick enough, my hands are quick enough to catch it. Or if nothing else, to break the fall so it won't break. I don't have to think about it. Right? And my partner here, he played football. And I can tell you, if he's running through the hole and there's somebody reaching to grab him to try and tackle him with one arm, he knows better than to commit his entire body to that one arm. He's going to rely on his training. And the first thing that he would do, he would determine, right, if he can spin and get out of it. That way, if the person is reaching at him, if he spins, see that person misses him and his hands follow. And then he's going to dash in the opposite direction. He's not going to go in the same direction of the defender, right? Now, if he can't turn and there's another defender there, as soon as that person sticks his arm out to grab it, tell him what you'll do.
You got to push it away.
He's going to push it away. He's going to push it in the opposite motion, in the opposite direction in which he's traveling. So, in the military, and you're in, a firing combat, a firing battle, whatever the situation is, you know how to operate that gun because that gun now becomes an extension of you, right? And when you're well trained, you know when to shoot and when not to shoot. All right? Most people say, man, now a lot of people end up, but there's people who fire guns, man, over 1,000 times and they never shot anything that didn't deserve it or they wasn't trained for it. So this is what we want to say, subconscious, in the subconscious mind. You don't have to think of it. That's why you do push-ups. That's why you do pull-ups. That's why you run the slalom. That's why you build up your stamina. You know? So that's what that can be associated with. Anything you want to add to that?
Right. You know, when we talk about auto suggestion, it's almost like autopilot, right? You do it without having to think about it, right? But when it's auto decision, see, that's a different element, right? Because if someone suggests something to you, let's just say something you don't like, right? Like whatever it is. Let's just say someone who don't like coffee, and someone suggests to them, "You want some coffee?" It's no. Why? Because I don't like it, right? So see, that's on autopilot. So we're talking about when it comes to financial principles to attract wealth, to produce wealth and gain riches, right? We have in particular, black people, we have an auto suggestion that we can automatically think that it won't work because the population or the majority of the population don't think the same way. And everything that exists always starts with one. Everything, one. So we want to change that auto suggestion to auto knowing. Okay, now when we begin to know things, and even with auto suggestion, when we go from negative to positive, see, auto suggestion is good. So we bring a positive position to it now, right? Instead of rejection, no, let's accept and do. Okay?
Do not become discouraged if you cannot control and direct your emotions the first time you try to do so. Remember, there's no such possibility as something for nothing. Ability to reach and influence your subconscious mind has its price, and you must pay that price. You cannot cheat, even if you desire to do so. The price of ability to influence your subconscious mind is everlasting persistence in applying the principles described here. You cannot develop the desired ability for a lower price. You and you alone must decide whether or not the... Huh?
Now I'm saying, what you say? You must decide.
You must decide whether or not the reward for which you are striving, the money consciousness, is worth the price you must pay for it in effort. Wisdom and cleverness alone will not attract and retain money except in a few very rare instances, where the law of averages favors the attraction of money through these sources. The method of attracting money described here does not depend upon the law of averages. Moreover, the method plays no favorites. It will work for one person as effectively as it will for another. Where failure is experienced, it is the individual, not the method, which has failed. And we say this all the time. The system does not fail the people. The people fails the system. All right? Where we are? Your ability to use the principle of autosuggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. When you begin to carry out the instructions in connection with the 6 steps described in the 2nd chapter, it will be necessary for you to make use of the principle of concentration. Let us here offer suggestions for the effective use of concentration. When you begin to carry out the first of the 6 steps, which instructs you to fix in your own mind the exact amount of money you desire, hold your thoughts on that amount of money by concentration or fixation of attention, with your eyes closed until you can actually see the physical appearance of the money. Do this at least once every day. As you go through these exercises, follow the instructions given in the chapter on faith and see yourself actually in possession of the money. Here is a most significant fact. The subconscious mind takes any orders given in it, a spirit of absolute faith, and acts upon those orders, although those orders often have to be presented over and over again through repetition before they are interpreted by the subconscious mind. Following the preceding statement, consider the possibility of playing a perfectly legitimate trick on your subconscious mind by making it believe, because you believe it, that you must have the amount of money you are visualizing, that this money is already awaiting your claim, that the subconscious mind must hand over to you practical plans for acquiring the money which is yours. Hand over the thought suggested in the preceding paragraph to your imagination and see what your imagination can or will do to create practical plans for the accumulation of money through transmutation of your desire. Hand over the thought suggested in the preceding paragraph to your imagination and see what your imagination can or will do to create practical plans for the accumulation of money through transmutation of your desire. Do not wait for a definite plan through which you intend to exchange services or merchandise in return for the money you are visualizing, but begin at once to see yourself in possession of the money, demanding and expecting, meanwhile, that your subconscious mind will hand over the plan or plans you need. Be on the alert for these plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of an inspiration. This inspiration may be considered a direct telegram or message from infinite intelligence. Treat it with respect and act upon it as soon as you receive it. Failure to do this will be fatal to your success. In the fourth of the 6 steps, you were instructed to create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once to put this plan into action. You should follow this instruction in the manner described in the preceding paragraph. Do not trust to your reason when creating your plan for accumulating money through the transmutation of the desire. Your reason is faulty. Moreover, your reasoning faculty may be lazy, and if you depend entirely upon it to serve you, it may disappoint you. When visualizing the money you intend to accumulate with closed eyes, see yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money. This is very important. All right, I'm gonna start on commenting on this. You see, when it says you plant the seed in your subconscious mind, you do the mental exercise, you do the mental push-up, you get your mind built for what it is that you're about to do, right? Through repetition. So whatever opportunity comes your way, your mind is already geared for it, and you can see straight through it. You can see the money. When you do this as a plan, you can listen to a business that you've never had any experience at. Never any experience. And I say this, and I don't say this bragging, but I've trained for this most of my life. There's not a business that you can name, right? And I may not have ever heard of that business before. But once you explain to me the business and what it does, I can extract just where the money is. I can sniff it out. I can make that part make sense. And I may not know a damn thing about it. But that's what happens when you train your mind. And let me show you something, right? When it talks about tricking your subconscious mind, you have people that you will explain to them how to do a simple business. So an equity wealth building program, for instance, you can tell them how to do that. And the system is straightforward. It doesn't lie to you. It doesn't lie to you at all. You sponsor someone. For sponsoring that someone, you get a referral. You can call it any other name, but you get a referral. So in other words, you're getting paid. I don't care how you slice it. You're getting paid for signing someone up. But we trick ourselves. We tell ourselves that, you know what, this is a Ponzi scheme. That term has destroyed referral, sponsor, affiliate, networking, multi. It has destroyed and it has obliterated that. But let me share this with you. Now you can take someone and you can tell them, I have a hustle that I want you to do. Right? What's the hustle? It's the credit card business. All right, first of all, you have to go and buy a device, place that device on an ATM machine. When people come to the ATM machine to swipe their cards, they're going to swipe your information and everything on that card, and it's going to read on your device. Now you have to go and download that information. And when you download that information, now you have to upload it in order to put it on the cards. Now you have to find people. You got to go into these the stores of merchants to use the cards, right? To buy merchandise, or either get cash or go to the bank account and then pull the money out of somebody else's account, right? All the while you're doing this, you're looking for any type of alert that could get you in trouble. So while you're at the ATM machine, you're looking around corners and the whole 9 yards, all right? Then you have to count the money, then you have to divide the money in the whole 9. So here's my point. We have let our subconscious mind, we have fed it negativity. See, the subconscious mind is going to let whatever it is that you focus on and concentrate on, it's going to let you succeed. But you would think that doing all that I just named, that I just given you an example of, is easier than you just sponsoring someone. And I'm just only using that for point of reference because this is our business. But the point I'm making is this. We'll let our minds, we'll trick our subconscious mind to move away from something that is legal and positive. And then you have to jump through about 9 or 10 hoops. You done talk your subconscious mind into telling you that this is what you need to do. You done tricked it. You done tricked yourself. Don't you know all the energy, all the effort, all the smarts, all the precision that has to go into a hustle or a scam that I just gave you? But look how many of us are doing it. What is it that's causing you to see this being more simple and more lucrative than the latter?
You know, it was a particular word that my partner read that I want to magnify, and it's called trick, right? You know, we know they had a season just past, Trick or Treat. They call it Halloween. It just passed, right? But what has happened in regards to, in particular, black people, we've been tricked. And now, in order to remove the trick mindset, I think the Ghetto Boys had a song called Mind Playing Tricks on You, right? Because the mind will play a trick on you, it'll play a trick, but it'll think whatever you suggest to it. Because it don't have control over you until you give it control. So we're supposed to be in control of our thinking. But since we've been tricked and divided and conquered, now it's easy to mislead us now, right? Because we've been tricked. And so when a presentation is presented, because one thing you can't trick a universal principle. That's what that book is telling us. You can't trick it. There is no tricks to gravity. There is no tricks to mathematics. There is no tricks to biology, physics. There's no tricks to that, right? It's only utilization of that to produce a desired result. So when it comes to business, my partner and I, we're talking about a business principle, So when we talk about soul equity, we're talking about money being a tool, not money being a trick. It's being a tool. So we're not coming from a institutional philosophy. We're coming from a universal principle. Because in order to receive something, you have to plant something. In order to have something, you have to retain something, right? In order to get something, you have to give something. See, no one owns those principles. So we utilize those principles, and we communicate the principles first to an auto-suggested mind that we know, who we thought was ready to embrace it. But now we have to go through the fundamental aspect. So we have to literally go back to zero to create a cycle. From zero. Now we got to get 1, 2, 3, because now we got to build with mathematics. So mathematics automatically remove the emotional part of it. We say, okay, we go to the board, we do the mathematics. Because we extracting the principles that's being extricated or explained. So now we're sharing the principles. You go get this, you receive this here happens. See, that's universal. That's not, and it's a systematic principle. It's like, if you don't plant nothing, you don't plant a seed, don't expect nothing to grow. See? So, because you can't trick the universal principle. You can't trick it. Okay?
Summary of instructions. The fact that you are reading this book is an indication that you earnestly seek knowledge. It is also an indication that you are a student of this subject. If you are only a student, there's a chance that you may learn much there's a chance that you may learn much that you did not know, but you will learn only by assuming an attitude of humility.
Come on now.
If you choose to follow some of the instructions, but neglect or refuse to follow others, you will fail. That's the example that my partner just gave you. To get satisfactory results, you must follow all instructions in a spirit of faith. And see, that's the universal principle. See, you can't do this and not do this and expect this. Simple. The instructions given in connection with the 6 steps in the 2nd chapter will now be summarized and blended with the principles covered by this chapter as follows. First, go into some quiet spot, preferably in bed at night, where you will not be disturbed or interrupted. Close your eyes and repeat aloud so you may hear your own words. The written statement of the amount of money you intend to accumulate, the time limit for its accumulation, and a description of the service or merchandise you intend to give in return for the money. As you carry out these instructions, see yourself already in possession of the money. For example, suppose that you intend to accumulate $50,000 by the 1st of January, 5 years hence, that you intend to give personal services in return for the money, in the capacity of a salesman. Your written statement of your purpose should be similar to the following. By the first day of January 19, I will have in my possession $50,000, which will come to me in various amounts from time to time during the interim. In return for this money, I will give the most efficient service of which I am capable, rendering the fullest possible quantity and the best possible quality of service in the capacity of salesman of describe the service or merchandise you intend to sell. I believe that I will have this money in my possession. My faith is so strong that I can now see this money before my eyes. I can touch it with my hands. It is now awaiting transfer to me at the time and in the proportion that I deliver the service I intend to render in return for it. I am awaiting a plan by which to accumulate this money, and I will follow that plan when it is received. Second, repeat this program night and morning until you can can see in your imagination the money you intend to accumulate. Place a written copy of your statement where you can see it night and morning, and read it just before retiring and upon arising until it has been memorized. Remember, as you carry out these instructions, that you are applying the principle of autosuggestion for the purpose of giving orders to your subconscious mind. Remember also that your subconscious mind will act only upon instructions which are emotionalized and handed over to it with feeling. Faith is the strongest and most productive of the emotions. Follow the instructions given in the chapter on faith. These instructions may at first seem abstract. Do not let this disturb you. Follow the instructions, no matter how abstract or impractical they may or at first appear to be. The time will soon come, if you do as you have been instructed in spirit as well as in act, when a whole new universe of power will unfold to you. Skepticism in connection with all new ideas is characteristics of all human beings. But if you follow the instructions outlined, your skepticism will soon be replaced by belief, and this in turn will soon become crystallized into absolute faith. Then you will have arrived at the point where you may trust and truly say, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. Many philosophers have made the statement that man is the master of his own earthly destiny, but most of them have failed to say why he is the master. The reason that man may be the master of his own earthly status, and especially his financial status, is thoroughly explained in this chapter. Man may become the master of himself and of his environment because he has the power to influence his own subconscious mind, and through it gain the cooperation of infinite intelligence. You are now reading the chapter which represents the keystone to the arc of this philosophy. The instructions contained in this chapter must be understood and applied with persistence if you are to succeed in transmuting desire into money. The actual performance of transmuting desire into money involves the use of autosuggestion as an agency by which one may reach and influence the subconscious mind. The other principles are simply tools with which to apply autosuggestion. Keep this thought in mind, and you will at times be conscious of the important part of the principle of autosuggestion is to play in your efforts to accumulate money through the methods described in this book. Carry out these instructions as though you were a small child. Inject into your efforts something of the faith of a child. The author has been most careful to see that no impractical instructions were included because of his sincere desire to be helpful. After you have read the entire book, come back to this chapter and follow in spirit and in action this instruction. Read the entire chapter aloud once every night until you become thoroughly convinced that the principle of autosuggestion is sound, that it will accomplish for you all that has been claimed for it. As you read, underscore with a pencil every sentence which impresses you favorably. Follow the foregoing instruction to the letter, and it will open the way for a complete understanding and mastery of the principle of suggestions.
Yes, sir. See, so it's always, it's always a universal effect when it's a universal cause, right? Because it's an old adage that a wise man told me. He said, when you want for your brother, but it means another, what you want for yourself, you always have. Because it removes a particular element of selfishness, right? Because the universe is broad. The universal laws, they don't discriminate. There is no discrimination in a universal law. Look, we did a trick one time. Well, it wasn't a trick. It was something that I wanted to test. I don't care how light or how heavy something is. If you drop it at the same time, gravity would allow it to hit the ground at the same time, right? I was like, wow. I thought that was fascinating, right? Because, you think weight would affect something, but under a law, it's the same thing. That's meaning if something is planted, something is going to grow. So what we're here to do, we're here to remove that negative auto-suggestion that has been planted into the thinking of our people. And we want to remove that thought and replace it with, yes, we can. Yes, it will. If I don't know, teach me. Not thinking that I already know. When I know, I don't know, but I want to appear as if I know. No, I don't know. So when a person says that they know, that opens an opportunity, a window of opportunity to teach them, right? Each one teach one. It's like a link. So we'll remove that poverty barrel, that poverty reality. We'll remove it because we're linking together. Meaning I want for you, I want for myself. If I want to get out of poverty, I'm going to help you do it, right? So you help somebody else too. So now we'll be forming a change, right? And a change is only as strong as its weakest link. So we want to keep all the links strong, okay? Lift a brother up. Lift a sister up. See, let's lift one another up, and we all rise out of poverty. And we'll do it based on universal principles, right? Because if it's just me, yeah, that'll drag me down. Okay, well, come on. You come. You grab somebody. Now we pushing instead of pulling, right? That's the principle. If you want somebody up, you push them up, right? You can't pull somebody down and want them up. Laws don't work like that. They have allowed us, if there's a law in the abstract, as my partner read, that's waiting to pull us up. It's waiting, but we got to use the universal laws. And so with the auto-suggestion of positive, yes, I can, instead of negative, no, I can't, that won't work. Because when the concept of the automobile, instead of the auto-suggestion, was introduced in America, they had a couple of open minds that was willing to learn something that they didn't know. And they had some people in the audience that thought they already knew. See? So you don't hear about those people. Why? Because their mind was so closed that they rejected the opportunity to facilitate and to make to be on the innovative side of something new instead of the dying side of something old. Here we are. We're on that side.
I want to add, before closing, the example that read, let me see if I can find it real quickly here. Well, I can't find it. It says, I believe that I would. Well, here, I can't find that exact sentence because as I was reading, I was trying to hold on to it. And just for sake of time and attention, because many of us have a short attention span, myself included. But what I want to say is, okay, as a kid, and I'm going to say this in terms of from a child's perspective, because that's what the book said, from a child's perspective. But this affects adults as well. See, oftentimes, all right, as a kid, let's say you're in the park and you're playing on a merry-go-round, and you jump off the deal, while it's spinning, and then you jump off and you jump off and take off and start running, right? And then people see you doing it and they say, man, that's cool. And then you got a couple other kids that try it. But there's going to be that one that's going to say, oh, man, that is so juvenile, man. Y'all say, they say, well, why don't you get on and try it? I don't need to do that. That's too easy. That's too simple. Y'all doing that crazy stuff. I don't see no point in it, right? Well, see, this kid is trying to trick your mind into believing that what you guys are doing is silly. And it makes no sense. But it's the Jedi mind trick because they're afraid. They believe that they can't do it.
Come on now.
And that fear has set in. Right? How many times have we done that? And see, as adults, we tell ourselves and we talk ourselves out of things that can be very beneficial to us because we don't see the sense in it. But we're afraid to try because we don't want to feel like a fool. We don't want, you got people that play the lottery and they play it every day and the odds are always against them, right? But then they'll go and do something else that just doesn't make any sense at all, right? Or something that make a lot of sense and the odds aren't as great, and they would have a greater chance at winning. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, because I went down a different path here, but my point is this. Through our fear and inferiority, we will try to flip the script and make it seem like to write down your thoughts, to write down your plan, to write down your goals. Oh man, that shit's not real, man. Why are you wasting your time even doing that? That's it. And if you're from Louisiana or Haiti, you're gonna say, man, that shit is superstitious, man. That's some voodoo. And people will cast it aside and say something just so asinine as that before they can even try to do anything. And that says that they have a lack of faith. They have a lack of trust. They have a lack of imagination. And this is usually people who are very very doubtful, very insecure. And I don't know, maybe I would have been, I don't know, who knows what would have happened, but sometimes people say that I take too many risks. I throw caution to the wind. I have a devil may care attitude. Some things I do, some things I may. But in just about everything that I do, I don't give a shit how crazy it may seem. I can give you the logic. I can give you the logic in it as to why I did it. Doesn't necessarily mean that you will. Doesn't mean that. But anything that you do, anything that's done repetitively, it fits into your psyche. It fits into who you are, and it becomes a part of your being, right? And you will exude it. And I gave an example a while back of what faith is, right? But not so much what faith is, but what planting that seed, as my partner just stated, right? You can't keep going out looking into your fields, man, for crops, and you haven't done any planting. That's totally crazy. Excuse me. But let me show you how nature works. You can be a farmer and you can have all of the tools that's needed for you to sow your crop, to sow your seeds and harvest and what have you. You can have all of that. But if you throw those seeds out there, see, because dirty water grows seeds too. You can throw your seeds out there. You may not get it in order and have it straight line like you've navigated it and planted it. But I can rest assured that you will harvest or you will receive a crop or some produce or whatever it is that the seeds were. They will sprout because that's the universe working with you. The universe is doing its part. You got to do yours. If you go in your pocket and just throw some seeds out there, that's effort. If you didn't do that, you don't. Why are you looking outside? Why are you looking in the backyard? Why are you doing it? You see, we fight against ourselves and we are our biggest enemies. We are our biggest enemies in self. And as my partner said, you want for yourself what you want for your brother. So when you neglect yourself, what chance I stand? And that's our biggest problem with one another. And we're no more than a mere seed. Anything that starts from nothingness, from just a drop of sperm,
Come on now.
and then you end up having all these limbs all these extensions, you're no more than a seed. What do they call an embryo? You're no more than a seed. We are the crop. We are the production of that perfect universal cycle. And this is what we must know, because in that we are perfect. We are perfection. So that's what we should always strive for. And if you don't reach perfection, then you reach good enough.
Come on.
And sometimes that's all it takes. It's good enough.
I want to, again, we thank our audience. We see my partner and I. When we come with our presentation on our Brillianaires Roundtable conference, we speak from a universal principle. And so, because when we make things personal, we take it from the universe and it's almost like we confine it, right? But that seed is personal because it has a universal implication, see? And it ain't no coincidence that in the word semen is the word seed, see? So we gotta, we can't plant doubt and expect confidence to grow. That don't work like that, see? Because that contradicts one another. Plant what you want. Plant what you desire. Plant what you're going to cultivate. Plant what you're going to follow up on, right? So you can't plant doubt and follow up on doubt and don't resist doubt, but expect something else to happen other than doubt. It don't work like that. Math won't allow it to work like that. Universal principles won't allow it to work like that. Plant desire. Plant what you desire. Cultivate what you desire. Get like minds to fulfill that desire. Now the idea becomes bigger than the individual seed. See, it ain't no coincidence that the tree is humongous, but the seed is tiny. So it's a parable. It talks about, in the scripture, talking about have faith as a mustard seed. A mustard seed, not mustard, the seed, because that mustard seed metaphorically is a strong desire, right? Have that strong desire, because desire is what's going to strengthen the will. Now you see willpower. Now you see the will coming into existence. Bobby said, man, I remember when I see now, because in the beginning it's a thought, but thoughts are the cause of all things. So as my partner read, we talking about auto-suggestion. What do you automatically tell yourself? Ask yourself that. How do you automatically look at yourself? Because however you look at yourself is what you tell yourself, right? You say, say, anytime you try to speak doubt into somebody else, that's a reflection of you. See? Because you can't, if you don't think it, how are you going to say it? If you don't think it, how are you going to do it? I don't know. I don't know is one of the best answers one can have. I don't know. Now it opens a window of opportunity to be taught, right? Let's say when I was a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man and woman too, I had to put away childish thinking. Meaning I can't think artificial in a real world. There is no, that's child's thinking. Okay? So it's a universal principle. When we pool our resources is not only implying money, it's talents as well. My partner and I, we've been asking people who's talented in doing technology. We had some sisters to show my partner and I it was simple after they showed it to us. But prior to them showing it to us, I was like, damn, man, how did you do such and such? And they made it so simple. Because this generation is born for what we're presenting. Because they're not educated at Harvard, Princeton, and Yale. They really from a zero background, not zero, but from a zero background, because they haven't been trained like into these institutions, right? And so now they got these tech schools now, right? Instead of these 2-year, 4-year degrees, they go take technology schools. They go into these skill schools, right? That's what they call them, skill schools. They go in there. So that's what we are attracting. We want to attract those mentalities, right? Now we can, create or fulfill what's been created. So we need help.
Well, guys, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I almost didn't make it. I just wanted to share that with you. I lost a friend of mine, and he had been fighting an illness, his health, for a couple of months now. And on last night, he transitioned. And we're doing this show in honor of him, Mr. John Rambo. And, and send up your prayers and everything for him. And I ask that you do the same for me. I'm here, we're talking. This was therapy for me. I thought best about not doing it, to be honest with you. And because, again, what my partner said, what you do for, what you want for your brother, what you may want for yourself. This brother's family didn't know how to get in touch with him, nor did I know his family. And it was by the grace of God and persistence that it's reverse engineering. I had no numbers on anyone. I listened, I paid attention. He gave me a few names, and gave me certain places. I didn't have any numbers. I never met his family. I knew he had an ex-wife, a wife that passed away. I knew he had kids. I didn't know the first place to try to find them because he never talked about it. And I just assumed, hey, here's a guy that don't have a family, what I mean? And that's kind of common in today's society. But, we never talked about that, or he never did with me. And he was at the hospital early on, all alone. And I was called by the doctors because I was his emergency contact. And I had no idea that that's what I was. And when they called me 3:30 in the morning telling me that he had been rushed into ICU, that I had to make it to the hospital. But then I make it to the hospital, but you tell me I can't give any consent. Why did you wake me up? Why did you, this is what I'm saying. Y'all call me, but I come here and then I can't, but you question me. You ask me 1,000,001 questions. I don't know this man's family. But I had to send up a prayer and I had to dig down deep. And trust me, just about anything that you put effort to, and you put your mind to it, and you believe it. I found this man's family. And the crazy thing is, after that, nobody called me because the family were there and they gave consent for the extended surgery. Well, now, it's almost like calling a ghost. I phoned this man's phone about 11 o'clock last night. I called this phone and it just rang. Nobody answered. I called the second time. I mean, what I'm thinking, he's in a hospital. He's probably non-responsive. So, but I'm calling the phone, y'all. After the second call, about 3 minutes later, the phone rang. I looked at my phone. I saw his name. I was happy. I was elated. And I answered the phone and I said, hello. And a soft, calm voice came over and said, hello. I said, yeah. She said, she said, you just called the number, right? I said, yeah. She said, who am I speaking? I gave her my name. And she said, I am. She gave me her name, and she said, I am John's daughter. And I said, oh, okay. I said, good. She said, yeah. She said, so she said, you're the Tony that got in touch with us, got in touch with the family and everything. I said, yeah. She said, well, we all would like to thank you, my brothers and I. We would like to thank you because we had not seen our father in 15 years. And we didn't know where he was, know how to find him. He was in the hospital under a different name. And I said, okay. So she's constantly thanking me and telling me this. So I said, well, how is he? Is he okay? She said, Mr. Tony, I'm sorry to say that he's no longer with us. I said, he's no longer with us? She said, no. She said, I said, what happened? When? She said, Mr. Tony, he transitioned less than 10 minutes ago. They had been at the hospital with him, sedated and connected to the machines since mid-afternoon until 11 o'clock that night. They prayed, they held hands, they talked. They hadn't seen him in 15 years, y'all. And they all thanked me. But when she said that he passed less than 10 minutes ago, I was calling when he transitioned. And I don't want to use the term haunt, that it haunts me. It doesn't haunt me. It's a mixed feeling. It's a mixed feeling because he's gone and we miss him. But only God told me to call a number that I know wasn't going to be answered. And it was answered. And I say this to my friend right here, right now, and any of my friends that's out there in the audience that's listening the whole bit. Man, do for me what I would do for you. Okay? I would not give up. I was relentless. Because I know he would have done that for me. And with that said, I wish you all a great evening. Join us again tomorrow for Back to the World, my brother and my sister's keeper. And next Wednesday, Brillianaires Roundtable Conference. That would be Thanksgiving Eve, right? They still call it that? But
you know, I want to
yes.
I want to comment on that. That was
Yes.
Emotional, you know, because when you think about helping someone, especially on their dying bed, right? It's a totally different spirit. Because most people, unfortunately, that's when they turn their back.
Absolutely.
Again.
Absolutely, brother.
Because the back has been turned already, but it turns again and again and again.
Absolutely.
But those who come forward and develop a bond through turbulence or difficulty, that's a different kind of bond. That's a bond that you can't bond out of because it's principle based. When you literally want for somebody else what you want for your own self, another, the word another, meaning another, brother and mother, all those words have one word in common, and that's other. That's my other half. Because if I want for my brother what I want for me, see, I don't want poverty. Poverty don't even want me. He don't want poverty. So we take a seed together and we plant it. and we cultivate that seed. We even built something to share the seed. We tell you, money it's a seed. It's a tool. Look at the wealth. They use it for that principle. Love is a seed. Now, it's mixed feelings now because it's like, man, what I could have done. Maybe I could have done something. See? No. You did what you had a desire to do, and that was to hear his voice. Now it's going to be in your head because you heard it. You was there to hear his voice. See? So, I can't tell you don't be sad, because here's a brother. Hey, I'm sad when you told me, because I met the brother. Good spirit brother, man. A brother that wanted a better tomorrow for himself and others. Literally. So let's generate that spirit. So that spirit, that kind of spirit, it never dies. Because it's in tune with the time. See? And so, brother, that call that you made, I mean, I can imagine what's going through your head, but look at it, because I've heard calls when you got up out your comfort zone to go aid and assist the brother. I witnessed that, right? And so if that in any kind of mold and fashion could give you that ease, that relief, or that not relaxation, but that comfort, right. And knowing that, hey, it's only because he had a health issue. Right. And you picked him up from the hospital and took him to the hospital multiple times. So you was there to aid and assist him to his recovery. Right. So right.
Quitting is easy for many.
Right.
I just couldn't. But anyway,
so winners never quit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, if that'll help, because
right,
you did what a brother is supposed to do.
Right.
When one is down, it's easy to get ostracized.
Right. Right.
So
yeah,
man, that's.
Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Enjoy.